Brooklyn Bloodlines, the only show where the mobsters are realer than your uncle's gold chain. In a city where the pizza's hot, the deals are shady, and the loyalty's thinner than Nona's cannoli shell, comes the crew you can't live with, but can't live without. Mikey the Hammer Palermo. He don't argue, he don't negotiate. He just swings, bada bing. One crack, and suddenly your bookie's closed for business. Agent David Lopez. FBI, Marine, and somehow still dumb enough to hang out with these guys. He's playing both sides like a jukebox. You never know which song he's gonna play. Admiral Iron Fist Impeach. The only guy who could sell battleship blueprints at a bake sale. You want missiles? He'll wrap them in tinfoil and throw in a coupon for bagels. Nick Palermo. Hot-headed, big-mouthed, and loyal to a fault. He'll either hug you or strangle you, sometimes in the same conversation. Aaron the Brain Schulte. Smartest guy in the room, which ain't saying much, but still, he's the one making sure these jamokis don't blow up the wrong warehouse. You want laughs? You want blood? You want Sunday gravy served with a side of felony charges? Forget about Netflix, this is Brooklyn Bloodlines. 5 wise guys, 1 borough, and more bad decisions than a Staten Island wedding. Brooklyn Bloodlines. You don't watch this show, then you ain't from Brooklyn. Capiche?
Muggs, what the fuck you doing in there, you prick?
Bambi's Twisted Tales, Rumpelstiltskin, the Debt Collector. The lie that cost a life. The miller was a braggart and a liar, always talking like he had more clout than he did. One day he stood before the king, who was greedy as a loan shark on collection day. Desperate to impress, the miller puffed out his chest and said, "My daughter, sire, she can spin straw into gold." The court gasped. The king leaned forward, eyes glittering with hunger. "Bring her to me," he ordered. "She will spin tonight, or she will die." That night the miller's daughter sat in a cold stone tower, surrounded by piles of straw, taller than tombstones. She wept, her hands raw from pulling fibers that would never turn to gold. And in the middle of her sobs came a laugh, sharp, strange, like a coin dropping on stone. From the shadows stepped a figure small as a child, but older than time. His back hunched, his grin stretched wide, teeth gleaming like brass buttons. His eyes burned with a greedy little fire. "Poor thing," he crooned, "all this straw and no gold? Tsk. Lucky for you, I'm a friend. I can spin. I can turn this garbage into treasure." The girl froze, hope tangling with fear. What would it cost? "Not much," he whispered, stroking the straw. "A trinket, a promise, a piece of your name, maybe." She agreed, desperate. The wheels spun, the straw gleamed, and by dawn the tower glowed with gold. The king near fell on his fat ass when he saw the gold. His eyes bulged, fingers twitching with greed. "More," he demanded. "Spin more." Night after night the little man returned. Each time he asked for payment, a necklace, a ring, a lock of her hair. And each time she gave. The girl's fear deepened, but so did the king's obsession. He built his castle on her lies, his crown heavier with each golden thread. By the 3rd night her hand shook as she gave away her last trinket. "And tomorrow?" she asked. He smirked. "Tomorrow you'll owe me more than baubles. Tomorrow you'll owe me your future." The king, now richer than any emperor, decided to wed the miller's daughter. She stood at the altar, veil heavy, crown cold, smile hollow. Everyone cheered, but in the shadows behind the altar, The little man watched, grin sharp as broken glass. He didn't want the crown, he didn't want her gold, he wanted her bloodline, and when she bore her first child, he'd come collect. The baby came wailing into the world like a trumpet of doom. The kingdom rejoiced. But that night, as the queen rocked her son to sleep, a voice purred in the nursery. "It's time to pay." The little man stepped out from behind the curtains, his grin wider than ever. She screamed, begged, offered jewels, armies, even the crown itself. He shook his head. "A deal's a deal. The firstborn is mine." Perhaps he loved games, or perhaps torment was sweeter than gold. He gave her 3 days. "Guess my name," he said. "If you get it right, you keep the boy. If not, he's mine." The queen sent riders across the land, searching every book, every scroll. She whispered names in her sleep, clawed at words like drowning hands clutching air. On the edge of a black forest, a spy stumbled upon a clearing. There, dancing around a fire, the little man sang, "Rumpelstiltskin is my name, deals and debts my favorite game. Firstborn cries, mothers pray, but debts in blood are how I'm paid." The spy fled, his heart hammering. The queen stood tall in the nursery, clutching her child. The little man leaned against the crib, grin wicked. "Well?" he asked. "Rumpelstiltskin," she said. His eyes flashed. His grin dropped. Then he laughed, a sound like nails on glass. "So you know my name. Do you think that saves you?" He opened a book, bound in black leather, stitched with veins. Names filled the pages, scratched deep into the hide. The queen saw her father's name there, the priest's, the king's, even hers, written already, ink still wet. "Names don't chain me," he hissed. "Names summon me, and now I'm here for all of you." The king barged in, sword drawn, crown askew. "Begone, demon!" he roared. Rumpelstiltskin smiled. With a flick, the king's mouth filled with molten gold. He choked, gagged, and collapsed, his crown rolling across the floor. "Debt collected," Rumpelstiltskin whispered. Before the Palermos, before the wolves and the devils crawled in from Philly and Kansas City, Brooklyn already had a name that made the streets go quiet. Giovanni D'Angelo. They call him Goku. Born in the old neighborhood, he came up when loyalty was law, and betrayal was a death sentence. He wasn't the biggest, he wasn't the loudest, but he was the smartest. Calm where others shouted, patient where others lunged. Goku built his empire not with rage, but with discipline. Every move calculated, every word weighed. He was Frankie Palermo's closest ally. The two of them ran Brooklyn like kings, Frankie the fire, Goku the ice. And when Frankie was clipped outside that candy store, Goku didn't just lose a friend, he inherited a promise. He swore on that sidewalk that he'd watch over Frankie's kids. Nick, Bambi, Emily. He raised them like blood, gave him a seat at his table, kept the Palermo name alive through the storm. Flashback. The early 90s. A 16-year-old Nick Palermo, hot-headed, fists ready to fly. Goku sits him down in the back of La Tavola Nera, pours him a glass of wine, and says, "If you can't control yourself, you'll never control this city. Loyalty first, patience second, everything else comes after." Nick never forgot it. Flashback. Young Bambi, still reeling from her father's death. Goku puts a heavy hand on her shoulder, looks her dead in the eye. "You're Frankie's daughter. That means something. Don't ever let him see you bend." She didn't. Now, Goku's older, slower maybe, but sharper than ever. The streets are getting crowded, Anthony Sessa prowling. Christians in telly smile in his devil's smile. Rizzo buying influence with blood money. And the Bureau, they're circling too. Goku's empire is a fortress, but even fortresses crack when the enemies come from inside and out. Still, when Goku walks into a room, men stand. His voice don't rise above a whisper, but it silences the noise. He don't need to prove who he is. Brooklyn already knows. Giovanni, Goku D'Angelo ain't motivated by greed. He's motivated by legacy, by Frankie Palermo's ghost, by the vow he made to protect the bloodline. He's the calm in the storm, the godfather who holds the pieces together while the wolves and devils tear at the gates. And in Season 2, when the streets burn and the families fracture, Brooklyn's gonna remember who the real boss is. Brooklyn Bloodlines, Season 2, coming soon. The fire spread fast, curtains, cradle, walls. The queen clutched her baby, stumbling through smoke. Behind her, Rumpelstiltskin laughed, dancing in the flames. She fled into the woods, baby pressed to her chest. Days blurred. Every village she entered was empty, cribs abandoned, toys left to rot. On walls, scratched deep, debt paid. The spy who'd found the name staggered into camp, eyes hollow. "He don't want just the child," he whispered. "He wants the line, the name. He erases families, whole dynasties, until there's nothing left." Then he slit his throat, smiling in relief as he died. Desperate, the queen drew circles in salt, bled into runes, begged priests, witches, even beggars. Each shook their heads. "He ain't a man," they said. "He's hunger. You don't stop hunger. You feed it." Every night his voice sang in the wind. Every dream she saw him cradling her son, humming lullabies in a voice like broken glass. Her feet blistered, her lungs burned, but still she ran. She stumbled into another village, streets silent, cradles empty. But on the altar of the church sat a dozen tiny shoes, polished neat. On the wall, Rumpelstiltskin was here. At a jagged cliffside, wind howling, the queen faced him again. "One last deal," he offered, eyes glowing. "Give me the boy and you live. Keep him and you both die." She spat blood. "Take me instead." He grinned, sharper than knives. That's what he wanted all along. The shadow swallowed her whole, her scream echoing into silence. The baby cried alone, ash crowning his hair. Rumpelstiltskin shut his ledger, dusted off his sleeves, and walked into the trees, humming his little rhyme. Kingdoms fall, bloodlines vanish, but hunger walks forever. Centuries later, a little man in a pinstripe suit strolled under the Brooklyn Bridge, smirking at neon lights. In his pocket, a ledger. On his lips, the same old song. Another city, another debt, another family about to be erased. Moral of the story: don't make promises you can't keep. Don't deal with devils in suits. Every shortcut's a contract, and every contract comes due. That's another nightmare straight out of Bambi's Twisted Tales. Hit subscribe, ring the bell, and join the Pizzaverse, where fairy tales don't end with happily ever after. They end with a bill you can't pay.